Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Limpim Visham. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Monday, the 9th of February. Bihar crisis deepens. Nitish Kumar stakes claim to form new government. Kashmir nationalist leaders blame Pakistan for nurturing terror outfits in POK. And over 900 honor killings reported in 2 years in Pakistan. And now for all the details. The imbroglio in Indian province of Bihar further intensified on Monday. Janata Dal United chief Nitish Kumar met the governor and staked claim to form the next government in the eastern state.
Janata Dal United or JDU President Sharad Yadav, RJD President Lalu Prasad and former State Chief Nitish Kumar along with 130 other lawmakers on Monday marched up to the Governor House in provincial capital Patna to stake claim to form the next government in Bihar under the leadership of Kumar. The leaders called on Governor Keshri Nath Tripathi and urged him to invite Kumar to take oath as the Chief Minister.
माझी जी के जगह पर नेता चुने गए हैं नीतीश कुमार। बिना समय गवाए हुए नीतीश कुमार को आमंत्रित करिए, वोट कराइए, अब फिर असेंबली का ये करिए। अगर कोई टेस्ट करना चाहते हैं तो 16 घंटा 20 घंटा में जब भी टेस्ट करना है टेस्ट कर लीजिए और नीतीश के नेतृत्व में नई सरकार का गठन हो।
The governor also invited current Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manjhi to take his opinion. Manjhi has been asked to prove his majority in the assembly within 48 hours or appoint Kumar as the new state chief.
सदन का नेता वही आदमी हो सकता है जो उस सदन का सदस्य हो, तो न तो उस सदन के ये सदस्य हैं और न वो विधायक दल का मामला है, तो विधायक दल का बैठक जो किया गया वो अनधिकृत था, उसके लिए कोर्ट में भी लोग गए हैं।
JDU had earlier in the day expelled Manjhi, accusing him of indiscipline. Sharad Yadav had ordered Manjhi's expulsion for indulging in anti-party activities. Supporters of Manjhi, however, moved the court against what they described his dismissal as unconstitutional. Manjhi had refused to submit his resignation and facilitate a smooth transition of power, claiming that only a floor test can oust him. Crisis erupted on Saturday after 23 ministers resigned from State Assembly in Bihar after Kumar was elected as legislature party leader, replacing Manjhi. The current chief minister had recommended dissolution of State Assembly, which was opposed by his cabinet colleagues. Manjhi had in May last year taken charge after former chief minister Nitish Kumar resigned from the post.
Despite proclamations, Pakistan's export of terror to neighboring countries continues. Kashmiri nationalists allege Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or POK has virtually become a recruitment and training hub for anti-India groups nurtured by Islamabad.
There seems to be no end to Pakistan's support to terror via Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or POK. Nationalist leaders have for long complained about the mushrooming of terror camps in the remote region, which operate with impunity despite opposition from all corners. Terror outfits like the Lashkar-e-Toiba or LET and the Jamaat-ud-Dawa or JUD look towards POK's mountainous terrain to undertake training of youth to further their agenda. At a recent conference on terrorism and its impact on the South Asian region in Vienna, Jammu and Kashmir International People's Alliance said religious intolerance and extremism were major threats to the peace in the region.
Religious terrorism is Jamaat-ud-Dawa, which is totally sponsored by secret agencies of Pakistan for arms struggle in Indian Health Kashmir and to produce jihadis for waging war against India and Israel. This organization is working on the instructions of the secret agencies to achieve the political goal of Pakistan Army. This organization is fully responsible for the killing of thousands of Kashmiri youth in the name of jihad and spreading of religious terrorism in Kashmir.
Pakistan, which has illegally occupied POK for over 6 decades, has been training and arming militants to wage proxy wars against India since the late 70s. Islamabad has stationed large formations of its armed forces here, preventing scrutiny of the Himalayan region. The JUD has been the face of the LET after it was banned in 2002. Masquerading as a charity, it however runs several seminaries in the region to recruit foot soldiers for jihad. The JUD was blacklisted by the United Nations soon after the November 2008 Mumbai attacks that killed 166 people. Nationalist leader and coordinator of the conference, Shabir Chaudhry, said Pakistan government uses extremism as a foreign policy weapon to advance its agenda in POK.
This class of terrorist groups operate as agents of a government and act as proxies to advance the cause of a government. And sometimes this cause is mutually beneficial to the government and also the terrorist group committing these acts. These groups receive substantial intelligence, logistic and operational support from the sponsoring government.
Publicly, the Pakistani government maintains that it is a victim of terrorism and will not allow any militant groups to operate from its soil. Rhetoric apart, much of the terror infrastructure in POK has remained intact.
Afghanistan continues to be threatened by global terrorism, including the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or IS, President Ashraf Ghani has said.
Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has said global criminal economy must be understood and called on the Islamic nations to speak out against the IS. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference in Germany on Sunday, President Ghani stated that there was a struggle for the soul of Islam across the globe.
The key question is who finances the conflict and who benefits from it. It's not that the discursive part is unimportant, but without understanding the deep roots of financing, the global criminal economy is worth 1.7 trillion a year.
President Ghani insisted that the Al-Qaeda and IS groups have deeper roots in Afghanistan, which is still in the grip of an entrenched insurgency led by the Taliban. NATO commander in Afghanistan, General John Campbell, had last month said the IS has stepped up recruiting fighters in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. Campbell had confirmed that the extremist group has been distributing night letters openly inviting youths to join its ranks.
There seems to be no end to the political turmoil in Bangladesh. At least 9 more people were killed in the blockade-related violence over the weekend as part of the ongoing BNP-led nationwide shutdown.
The spiraling political violence which continues to grip Bangladesh has claimed over 70 lives till Monday. Dozens of people were also injured in the weekend violence as opposition activists continue to throw petrol bombs on vehicles. Amid rising anger, civil society and supporters of the ruling Awami League continue to demand an end to the crisis. Hundreds formed human chains across the country on Sunday to mark their protest. Condemning the attacks, federal ministers said they will continue to oppose such barbarous attacks by the opposition.
The general public of all sections are standing on the street in a human chain to protest a barbarous attack on the people by throwing petrol bombs, and it was instructed by Begum Khaleda Zia, leader of BNP, one of the major political parties of the country. The saddest part is that Begum Khaleda Zia, the leader of BNP, is attacking the people with petrol bombs.
The rising violence is a part of BNP's ongoing indefinite nationwide shutdown, which completed 1 month on Thursday. The continuous transport blockade has not only left the economy in shambles, but has also thrown normal life out of gear. While hundreds of vehicles have been burnt by miscreants, blockade-related violence continues unabated. A 20-party opposition alliance headed by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has been observing a nationwide shutdown since January 5th after BNP Supremo Khaleda Zia was barred from holding an anti-government protest. Zia was last week charged for instigating arson attacks and also sued for over 42 murders during the blockade. The US has outrightly rejected the shutdown, stating that there cannot be any justification for any kind of violence.
Pakistan government's ambitious Neelam Jhelum project might not see the light in near future. The mega dam in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir has been delayed yet again due to financial crisis. Islamabad began constructing the dam despite opposition from locals.
A funding crunch will keep the Neelam Jhelum hydropower project unfinished this year, a latest announcement has said. A parliamentary panel had last week informed that the completion of the project has been delayed due to a shortage of $500 million, forcing the new target year to be set at 2016. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif had directed the project to be completed within the current year when he visited the site in June 2013. The dam has faced constant shortage of money ever since it was launched in 2008, pushing up the cost to manifold. The project site has also witnessed several instances of mismanagement and accidents. At least 6 people, including a Chinese engineer, were killed in an accident in December last year. Islamabad, with the help of Beijing, is building the Neelam Jhelum Dam some 25 miles from POK capital Muzaffarabad to end Pakistan's burgeoning power crisis. Despite mounting anger from the locals, the dam is still being built in a seismically active zone. It has so far inundated many villages and farmlands, while thousands of people have been forced out to create catchment areas. Residents claim they will not get a fair share of the additional 969 megawatt of power generated here, as the electricity will be transferred to Pakistan's main cities without them receiving adequate compensation.
At least 933 people, including 83 non-Muslims, were killed in the name of honor during the past 2 years in Pakistan. The statistics revealed by the Ministry of Law on Friday claim that a total of 456 and 477 cases were reported in Pakistan in 2013 and 2014 respectively, with the greatest number of cases reported from Sindh alone. The southern province also stood as the worst in terms of safety of minorities, with 46 non-Muslim cases. Honor killings are rampant in Pakistan. A newlywed couple was killed for marrying without the consent of their family in eastern Pakistan in June last year. The horrific incident was reported a month after a 25-year-old pregnant girl was stoned to death by her family outside the Lahore High Court. India's beach destination Goa became a hotspot, getting bold and beautiful at this fashion do. Take a look at what all unfurled on the ramp.
Amid all the sun and sand, Western Goa came alive, showcasing a splash of colors and creativity, giving a melange of designers to give a traditional twist to their swimwear collections. The maiden edition of India Beach Fashion Week 2015 showcased garments that swung from relaxed and bohemian styles to sophisticated cocktail dresses. Designer Vidhi Wadhwani experimented with feminine dresses on the fabrics of jersey and lycra. Soaked up in watery tones, Wadhwani said her collection highlights relaxed formal wear.
Not even India, I think we all need, all the countries need such platforms. You want to explore what is what the market potential, wherever it's going. So right now it's resort, it's beach, it's dressing up, holidays, so why not? You know, it's all about relaxed formal wear. So that's what my aim was with this collection.
Model turned actress Lisa Hayden took time off to sashay down the aisle in a chic asymmetrical bodysuit. Other designers played around with tropical print dresses, earthy tones, florals to geometric prints and evening wears. The 3-day-long fiesta saw participation of leading designers like Anjali and Arjun Kapoor, Anupama Dayal, Babita Malkani, Falguni and Shane Peacock.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. Bihar crisis deepens. Nitish Kumar stakes claim to form new government. Kashmir nationalist leaders blame Pakistan for nurturing terror outfits in POK. And over 900 honor killings reported in 2 years in Pakistan. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter at SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.